students, namaste and most welcome to this very, very important session of Class 10 ICSE Biology. Yes, we are in the chapter Photosynthesis, and this is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on the super amazing platform of Vedantu. Well, children, before we jump into the concepts, let me just remind you exams are just a few weeks away, probably just a few weeks away. Well, I understand that you are probably very, very anxious thinking about what next because you don't even have 100% clarity about your exam dates, right? But then why do you have to worry? Because it's not something that's in your control, right? Things will fall into place. As I always tell you, just stop worrying about that in case that has been worrying you a lot these days, okay? Because if it's something in our control, then we can do something about it. But exam dates and when it's going to happen and all of those, it's not something that's completely in our control. Unfortunately, considering the current pandemic situation and how unpredictable it is around the world, right, children? So don't worry. Leave everything to nature. Things will just happen when they happen. What is in our control right now is focusing on our concepts, getting the best possible clarity of concepts using the time that we have right now. And why you have to worry? Because as long as you're with Vedantu, things will fall into place. Right, guys? Okay. So always remember, stop doubting yourself, work hard, and just make it happen. That's all. Simple mantra. Okay? Right. So the homework question that I had given you in the last class, remember? Dash is the divalent cation found in chlorophyll, which helps in binding the molecules together. So I have the answers here from Dhruvi and Jitendri, and the answer is magnesium ions. Okay, so many others also gave me the answers, gave me the answer to this question. But anyway, thank you so much, children, for taking a few seconds off to give me the answer, because to me also it means a lot, as you know, because it's a YouTube platform. This is probably like one of those few ways by which you and I can interact with each other better, right? Especially Jitendri and Dhruvi and everyone else who have given me the answer to this question. Thank you so much. Always remember, for chlorophyll, magnesium is super duper important. Okay, right. So with that, let's move ahead. Okay. So another thing, for those of you who are medical aspirants, Vedantu launches target aims 2021 to 2023. Okay, so for those of you who want to be a part of the transformation and want to start preparing early with Vedantu, your golden opportunity is right here, children. So the batches have already started on the 21st of December. Okay, this will go on till the 30th of Jan 2021, Monday through Saturday. We have got an amazing team of expert faculty, all of whom you can see. You might know many of them also from our multiple platforms. So you have the opportunity to register right now for the AIMS target courses. Right, children? So the link to this for registration will be given in the description box below. Do not miss to click on that and register yourself before it gets late. All right, children? Okay, so today we are going to talk about light reaction and dark reaction. What exactly is that? Light, sunlight, dark reaction, moon's reaction, or something in the presence of moon? No, not really. It's got nothing to do with the moon at all. So don't consider it as something that's to do with sun and the moon. Of course, sun is important because it's photosynthesis after all. But what is dark reaction? We will get to all those details, but just remember for now that these are the two major phases of the process photosynthesis. Okay, guys, so let me just remind you that photosynthesis occurs in the mesophyll cells, both the palisade and the spongy mesophyll cells, right? So these are the mesophyll cells. Right. So during the daytime, of course, we all know that sunlight falls on the leaf and the energy of the sunlight gets trapped by chlorophyll and it gets used to manufacture food by the plants. And what is this food? It is glucose, right? So that is also something that you must know. It is C6H12O6. So here it is. Okay. We know that the ingredients, the raw materials for photosynthesis are mainly carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the soil in the presence of sunlight, and using chlorophyll, carbohydrates in the form of glucose are prepared and oxygen is given out as a byproduct. Right, children? This is a super important basic thing that all of you must know. Without having an understanding of what photosynthesis is, it makes no sense to go through the rest of the chapter. All right, guys. Remember, pay attention to this concept also that we are discussing today, because process of photosynthesis is something that's considered a little hard by many children. But trust me, whatever is there for your level, at least, is not all that difficult. We will go slowly, one step at a time, and you will get to know by the end of today's session how easy it is after all. So here it is, the chemical reaction, the chemical equation of photosynthesis, children. This equation is super duper important, okay? It can come as a 1-mark question, okay, as part of one of your 5 marks or 10 marks questions in section B. Okay, or it can come in section A also, but then usually this equation is worth being asked for 1 mark, as either as a standalone or as a part of any other longer question. So this is what it is. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 12 molecules of water in the presence of light energy and chlorophyll gives rise to 1 molecule of glucose, and in the meantime it also releases some bit of water and oxygen. Okay, oxygen as a byproduct. So children, always remember, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide are required to make 1 molecule of glucose. If you remember the chemical formula of carbon dioxide and glucose, this is going to be easy for you to remember, because carbon dioxide is just CO2. Glucose is C6H12O6. It's got 6 carbon atoms. So 6 molecules of carbon dioxide would be required to make 1 molecule of glucose. Very important for you to know. Okay, so this is it. The 6 molecules of water which are liberated at the end of the process are reformed during the chain of reactions. Okay, so no worries, we will get into those details, but let me also remind you the structure of the chloroplast. 2 major parts which you have to know before you get into the process of photosynthesis here are these 2: thylakoid and stroma. Now children, when I go deeper into this session, I will be using the word thylakoid and stroma a lot. So you shouldn't have a teeny bit of doubt in your mind as to what is thylakoid, what is stroma, what is ma'am talking about. No. Okay, you must know that the chloroplast is an organelle inside plant cells. We are talking about the mesophyll cells. I have shown you where mesophyll cells come. We are zooming into the mesophyll cells. We are looking at the chloroplast. 1 single chloroplast looks like this. The major parts you have to know today are thylakoid, which is this single coin-like structure. That is a thylakoid. And you must know what stroma is, which is this outside medium. The medium which is inside the chloroplast. Okay, so part of the photosynthesis reactions occurs in the thylakoid, rather in the thylakoid lumen, where chlorophyll is present, and the rest of it occurs in the stroma, which is this surrounding area around it, that medium within the chloroplast, that is the stroma. Okay, so let us now have a look at how exactly this occurs. First step. The first phase, as we call it, it's called the light dependent phase, or the light phase, or the light reaction, as we may also call it. Okay. Now, this phase, as the name indicates, it is absolutely dependent on sunlight. Okay, sunlight is absolutely important for this, and hence we also call it photochemical phase. Okay, so photochemical phase and light dependent phase are one and the same. Okay, this proceeds once there is exposure of the leaves or exposure of the chloroplasts to sunlight. As I told you, this reaction would occur in the thylakoids, which are these individual coin-like structures that you see here. So it's just shown to you in a vertical format, and earlier I have shown you the horizontal normal format. 1 single coin-like structure is what I want all of you to focus on right now. Okay, so we are zooming into the chloroplast. Rest of our session is going to be zoomed into the chloroplast. So here it is. Let us have a look at it. This is 1 single thylakoid. So where would you find chlorophyll molecules? Of course, along the thylakoid membrane, you would find the chlorophyll molecules. Now, what happens is, when this is exposed to sunlight, okay, when there is exposure to sunlight and sunlight is falling on the leaves, which means it penetrates deeper into the leaves It penetrates into the mesophyll cells. Obviously, sunlight would then fall on the chloroplast, and into the chloroplast, it falls on the thylakoid. Along the thylakoid membrane, who is there? We've got chlorophyll molecules which are there. Okay. Now, just as you would have learned in chemistry, when something is exposed to some really high energy compound or something like that, the electrons in it get excited. Likewise, even in this, the chlorophyll electrons, okay, chlorophyll electrons, they get really excited. What do you think happens then? When electrons are excited, they keep jumping around, they keep moving around, just like how a 2-year-old child or a 3-year-old child, when they are like full of energy, when they are like exposed to some like, or you just expose them to show them a very energetic, one of their favorite songs or something like that. They are like full of energy. Most of the time, that's how they are, obviously. You would know that if you are an observer of young kids. So what do? When they are full of energy? They are really excited. They keep jumping around, right? Moving around the room from one place to another. Electrons are no different. What they do is, when they are excited and full of energy, these electrons keep moving around from one electron carrier to another. Okay, between different electron carriers, these electrons just keep moving around. Now, what happens when they are jumping around from one point to another? Just think about electron carriers as individual steps, or individual, like you're probably like drawing something using a chalk on the floor for a child to jump from this circle to the next circle. They keep on jumping. Just think of it like that. Electron carriers, I've just mentioned it for your information to know how exactly this works. So the electrons jump from one carrier to the next. In this process of jumping, obviously, a little bit of energy would be lost. Okay, little bit of energy would be lost. But obviously, in this process of jumping, entire energy can't be drained, right? Little bit would be lost here and there. What about the rest of the energy? That has to be used somewhere, right? So what happens is, that energy, the main energy that the electrons now have, part of it has been lost while jumping from one electron carrier to the next. The rest of the main bulk of energy, which they have gained by exposure to the sunlight, is used in a very important step. So this is actually step 1 of light reaction. Okay, light reaction, and this is step 1 of light reaction. In step 2, that energy which the electrons have gained by exposure to sunlight is used in a very important process. It is used in splitting up of water molecules. Okay, that energy is used up in some, it has to be channelized for some useful activity. That is what step 2 is. So step 1 is activation of chlorophyll. Step 2 is the absorbed energy, which I have told you is used in splitting of water molecule into its components. What are the components? The major components are H plus and oxygen. And in this process, electrons are also released. So basically, 2 water molecules split up to form 4H plus 4 electrons plus molecular oxygen. Okay, guys. Now, since this step involves splitting of something, splitting of water is what is occurring here. Splitting in the presence of sunlight, we give it a special name. What is that name? We give it the name photolysis, because photo means light and lysis in biology means splitting. Okay? So splitting up in the presence of light. In the presence of light energy, that is photolysis. You can call it photolysis if it's easier for you to remember. Okay, that's completely up to you. I'm not very particular about those things anyway, as long as your school teacher agrees also. Okay, guys. So yes, this is it. Okay, slow and steady. We've just gotten started with light reaction. Okay, step 1 in light reaction is activation of chlorophyll. What is this activation of chlorophyll? Remember, we are talking about thylakoid, one single thylakoid. Along the membranes of the thylakoid, there are chlorophyll molecules. And upon exposure to the sun's energy, these chlorophyll molecules get activated. The electrons in the chlorophyll become highly energetic. And that energy is used in step 2, which is photolysis. Okay, this is all about light reaction. But now there is something that we have to know. What happens to the H plus electrons and oxygen. So these are the end products, the end result of the products of photolysis. We've got three end products, right? Hydrogen ions, oxygen, and electrons. The hydrogen ions are picked up by NADP. Where do you get NADP from? I will tell you in some time. Okay, but then for now, just understand NADP picks up H plus ions to form NADPH. Okay, so NADP picks up the H plus ions to form NADPH, which is an energetic molecule. Okay, a sort of energy currency, something similar to ATP. But of course, ATP is still the best energy currency as compared to a better energy currency as compared to NADPH. Okay, so it's basically an energy currency. NADPH is formed. What happens to the oxygen? Oxygen is given out as molecular oxygen. This is the byproduct of photosynthesis. Okay, and what happens to it? This is what we all breathe in, not just us. All aerobically respiring organisms breathe in this oxygen. Okay, now what happens to the electrons? Okay, there are three end products, right? Hydrogen ions, oxygen, and the electrons. The electrons are used to convert ADP to ATP. Now, where do you get that ADP from? That's also something I will tell you in some time. For now, just understand ADP plus inorganic phosphate get converted to ATP using these electrons. Okay, so ADP plus inorganic phosphate gets converted to ATP. ATP, obviously, you know, it's a high energy molecule. So this step in which ATP is formed is called phosphorylation. Now, since this phosphorylation occurs in the presence of light, we also call it photophosphorylation. So remember, photophosphorylation is formation of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate in the presence of the sun's energy or light energy. Photophosphorylation. Phosphorylation alone would mean ATP formation. Photophosphorylation would be ATP formation in the presence of light. Right, children? So these are the end products of photolysis, end products of light reaction. Okay, so fate of hydrogen ions, fate of oxygen, fate of the electrons, I think are very clear by now. Okay, now what happens? Oxygen, we know it's given out as a byproduct. So where do you think NADPH and the ATP would go? They are high energy molecules. They have to be used somewhere. So that is where we move on to step 2 of photosynthesis, which is called light independent phase. We also call it biosynthetic phase. Okay, photochemical phase is the name we give to light reaction or light dependent reaction. This one, we call it biosynthetic phase. Okay, I'll tell you the reason for that in a bit, but just understand it's called light independent phase or biosynthetic phase. It's also called dark reaction. But the word dark reaction, obviously and honestly, I would say, is a little misleading because it doesn't occur in darkness. The only thing is that it is completely independent of light. In the sense, it doesn't directly require the sun's energy for it to progress. Actually speaking, light reaction and dark reaction occur simultaneously inside a plant body. Okay, so these are simultaneously happening, where in light dependent phase, sunlight is directly involved. Whereas in this case, I know that looks like a little spider, right? Okay, sorry about that. But it's actually sun's energy, and light independent reaction is where directly solar energy is not involved. But obviously, indirectly, it is dependent on light energy as well. Okay, so now coming to the ATP and NADPH I was talking about, light dependent reactions, we've seen what happens in it. This is the end product of it, or rather, this is what we are left with right now. ATP and NADPH. Okay, sorry children, I have a very bad cough. Okay, right, so now what happens? Where did the light reaction occur? It occurred in the thylakoid, right? It all occurred in the thylakoid. Now what happens is, in the thylakoid, all of this has occurred. ATP and NADPH now move out of the thylakoid and they move to the stroma of the chloroplast. Remember I told you what the stroma is? That surrounding medium which are found around the grana. That matrix inside the chloroplast, that is the stroma. The dark reaction or the light-independent reactions occur in the stroma of the chloroplast. So what exactly occurs here? This NADPH would split up into NADP and H+. Okay, now what happens to both of them? NADP gets recycled back so that for further light reactions that NADPH can be used. That NADP can be used. Remember, I told you I will tell you where that NADP comes from. This is where it comes from. It just gets recycled and regenerated so that this NADP can be used up in further light reaction steps. Okay. Likewise, ATP also gets split up into ADP and inorganic phosphate, and they both also get recycled and regenerated so that they can be used further in further steps of light reaction. I mean, further rounds of light reaction, basically. So why are they getting split up? Remember, I told you they are high energy compounds. So when they split up, it is basically to release energy. Yes, so that is exactly what happens here. NADPH gets broken down into NADP and H+. Okay, so this H+, along with the molecular carbon dioxide which enters into the leaves through the stomata. Okay, the carbon dioxide which enters inside, this is undergoing a reaction. So the carbon dioxide, with the help of these hydrogen ions, get converted to glucose. Isn't that the end product of photosynthesis? Yes, glucose is our VIP. And since this glucose formation or synthesis of the actual biochemical substance occurs in this step, this is the reason we call it biosynthetic phase. Biosynthetic synthesis of the final product. Okay, so this is glucose. Then what happens to the glucose? Obviously, not like it would be immediately be, or for a long time be kept as glucose itself. For immediate use, probably it sends it to different parts of the body, of the plant body, but the rest of it mostly gets immediately converted to different forms of carbohydrates, mostly starch, mostly in the form of starch. Okay, or other sugars also. Now, what about the rest of it? Yes, I think I have already told you this. The inorganic phosphate and the ADP get regenerated for use in further repeats of light reaction. This is all that occurs. So this one, always remember, I've told you at the start, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide are required to make 1 molecule of glucose. Always remember this number 6, C6H12O6. This is what we mean by light independent reaction or biosynthetic phase. Okay, so this is what it is. The glucose, which is the end product of light independent phase, it immediately gets converted to starch as soon as it's formed. Okay, so basically, if this is glucose, or we have many different monomers, as we may call it, of glucose, they undergo polymerization to form starch. Okay, starch is nothing but a long polymeric chain of glucose. Glucose is a very, very simple carbohydrate. Some plants also convert glucose to other sugars, like, for example, sucrose, which is a disaccharide. Okay, so that's about it. This is what happens in light independent phase. So this is an overview of the phases of photosynthesis for you. Remember, light reaction and dark reaction. Light reaction, which is also called the photochemical phase because it occurs in the presence of light energy. The dark reaction, which is also called biosynthetic phase. And here is another term which I did not tell you, another name for it. It's called Calvin cycle also, considering the name of the scientist who discovered it, Calvin. Okay, that is what occurs in the stroma. So I think this image pretty much summarizes the entire couple of steps or the couple of phases of photosynthesis. Starts with light energy falling on the thylakoid, which means chlorophyll gets activated, and using that energy, water gets split up into H+ electrons and oxygen. Okay, and that oxygen gets released immediately as a byproduct. What happens to the H+ and the electrons? I've told you they are used to form NADPH and ATP. ATP is the main energy currency here. NADPH also slightly acts as an energy currency. Okay, so these now enter into the stroma and get into the dark reaction or the Calvin cycle, wherein ATP gets broken down to ADP and inorganic phosphate, releasing energy. Mainly using that energy, carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, along with the H plus that is generated here from the NADPH, get converted to glucose. Okay, the rest of it, NADP and ADP, get regenerated so that it can be used in further light reactions. That's about it. Very, very simple. Right, guys? So, yes, this is all about photosynthesis. Once you have understood this in a crystal clear manner, don't worry at all. Not a nightmare anymore. So, before we go ahead and check how much you have understood the phases of photosynthesis, I have a few important things to tell you. Of course, it's about how you can best gain knowledge and score the best marks. How is it? Yes, with Vedantu's unlimited live classes, which have fun and high-level quizzes. You get to compete with students across the country, across the world, and the replays that you get to watch, just in case you miss any of the sessions when they happen live, you get to have access to interactive replays. So this basically means when you click on the replay button, the quizzes and leaderboards of that particular session would still be live, just like a live session, right? So I think that's an amazing feature. So you don't have this feel of watching a recorded video, right? That's really amazing. So yes, apart from this, after every single session, you can also download handwritten notes of your master teachers and in-class doubt solving, tests, assignments, everything, especially at the session level, at the chapter level, and a lot more. Even like many chapters together, something like your midterms and all of that happens, plenty of practice will be available for you so that you can test yourself and you know where to improve, right? So, right, guys, so since we are nearing the end of academic year, I think you will best benefit from the 5,000 plus micro courses that we have and also the free crash courses that we have for competitive exams. So when I say it's free for those of you who are registered with Vedantu Pro subscription. So how exactly do you register yourself? I will tell you that. And coming to the pricing of it, we believe that less is more. I'll tell you how it works, but where you can check out the details officially is by clicking on the link in the description box below and the pinned comment. The coupon code you can apply is AMBPRO. Okay. Right. So by the way, let me also remind you that Christmas sale is happening, which means 50% off on all the courses of Pro subscription that we have. This will be valid only till the 27th of December, which is basically tomorrow, right? So make the best use of it before it gets late. Okay, so how do you decide whether or not this is reasonably priced? That's why I have all these details here for you. Considering Christmas sale, considering 50% sale is on right now, a 1-month subscription would cost you 1,349. But of course, remember, it's only by application of the coupon code AMBPR. Okay, without the coupon code, it would be 2,699 for 1 month. For 30 days, you end up paying that much. But with the coupon code, of course, it's going to be exactly pretty much half of that. And then for a 3-month subscription, because we are in the month of December now, Jan, Feb, March, if you want to be tension-free, go ahead for the 3-month subscription, which would cost you, together, everything is going to cost you just 4,999. Okay, so how exactly does this work? As in per session cost, let me tell you that the per class price for a 1-month subscription, you would get access to approximately 200 sessions, which means the per session cost is coming down to 1,349 divided by 200, making it ₹6 per session. It's like, I think, just ₹1 more than those ₹5 tiny chocolate bars that you buy. It's that reasonably priced. This is the per session cost. And in that 1 month, paying this price, you get unlimited access to science, maths, English, and social studies. It's not the per subject cost and it's not the per session cost. Remember, everything as a package is just 1,349. It all depends on how well you use it. Okay. And the 3-month subscription, currently, considering Christmas sale also, would be 4,999 divided by 600, and this would come down to ₹8 per session. Okay, so without Christmas sale, of course, it would be a little more than this. So remember, right now, make the best use of it, because this is going to be valid only till tomorrow. On the eve of your exam, it shouldn't be like suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, I should probably have listened to Ambika Ma'am on that day, and now I will just register for it. No, then it's going to be a waste of your money. It's going to be a waste of your time, because now if you register for this, it would mean that in the next 1 month or 3 months, whatever you subscribe for, you're going to be able to make the best use of it. You can explore whatever micro courses that we have, thousands and thousands of them that you can choose from. You can just pick whatever suits you, whichever chapters you want to learn, whichever concepts you want to learn, whichever teachers you want to learn from. That is the beauty of micro courses, right, guys? Okay, so I think I have said enough, and as I told you, this is even less priced than your favorite lace packet. So certainly it's a balance of quality and being reasonably priced. Make the best use of it, children. Okay, right. So as I told you, quick check now. Question number 1. Identify the A and B in the reaction. Okay, so the equation is given to you. Of course, it's the equation of photosynthesis. What do you think is A and B? Do you think it's chlorophyll and H2O? Do you think it's chlorophyll and 6 molecules of H2O? Do you think it's xanthophyll and H2O, or xanthophyll and 6 molecules of H2O? What is it? A and B, respectively, in that order itself. And your time is up. The answer is chlorophyll and 6 molecules of H2O. Of course, here it would be chlorophyll. Here it would be 6 water molecules. Don't forget this. Okay, guys, very, very important equation this is. By the way, children, make the best use of the notes which are available in the description box below. Okay, the PDF is available to you. The handwritten notes itself is available to you in a clickable form. Make the best use of it. Save it somewhere. Probably it's a personal suggestion, so that it will ease your preparation. Okay, now, which single material in the above, as in the previous equation, is repeated in raw material as well as reproduced as an end product? Remember, there's one which is a raw material of photosynthesis. It's also one of the end products. What is it? Glucose, water, carbon dioxide, none of these. Yes. And your time ends in 3, 2, 1, and go. The answer is water, of course. 12 water molecules as the raw material, 6 water molecules as the end product. Okay, the oxygen component is given out as dash oxygen. Okay, I remember mentioning this while I was telling you that concept. Is it in the ionic form, atomic form, molecular form, or none of these? Oxygen which is given out as a byproduct, what is it in the form of? And you're absolutely right. It is given out in the form of molecular oxygen, O2, of course. Right? So that's about it. And here is your homework question. Explain how an extensive vein system helps in photosynthesis. Okay? Right. So this is about photosynthesis, the process of it, and I just want you to explain in your own words how an extensive vein system helps in the process of photosynthesis. So guys, let me remind you, Christmas sale is on for Vedantu Pro subscription. Remember to visit the link in the description box below, and the pinned comment, the coupon code would be AMBPRO that you can apply. Okay guys, so make the best use of it before it gets late. Click on the like button, children, if you have found this very useful, and if you have if you think this is like photosynthesis process simplified for ICSE biology, share it with all your ICSE class 10 friends, because children, I personally think this will benefit all of them. For a quick revision of this concept, this is one concept that probably many children get nightmares about. So share this with everyone. I want everyone to benefit from this. Subscribe to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English, because as you know, it's not just conceptual knowledge. We also share with you a lot of our experiences. We also try and give you enough practice material to make you better in terms of motivation, in terms of inspiration, in terms of making you better, better confident to face your final exams. Right, children? So that's about it. And of course, Instagram as well. I don't know how many of you have been following me on Instagram, Ambika_Vedantu, because even there we put up a lot of interesting posts on a regular basis, just so that you would benefit from them. All right, children. So that's about it from me for the time being. Until we meet again, Stay home, stay happy, and stay safe. This is Ambika signing off. Bye bye.